will now call the Common Council meeting of April 15th, 2025 to order. Roll call, please.
Alderwoman Haas. Lorick.
Here.
Ritz.
Here.
Marshall.
She's excused.
Oh, pardon me. Alderwoman Marshall is excused. Gale.
Here.
Guzekowski.
Here.
Everybody, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Travikowski, would you lead us, please? Flag.
United States of America. To the republic. Nation.
Item 3 is the approval of minutes of March 18th, 2025. I'll give you all a moment to scan through them. If there are any corrections, omissions, or discussions, please just take the floor. If there's no discussion, motion, please.
Lork moves to approve the minutes of March 18th, 2025.
Ritzel second.
Roll call.
Alderman Lorick.
Aye.
Ritz.
Aye.
Marshall. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Haas.
We will now move on to the election of the Common Council President. This is an annual event after each election. I will explain the procedure for you. By statute, the election of an officer of the Common Council can be done by a paper ballot. This is only time that this body casts a secret ballot. The chair I will open the floor for nominations, which can be made by any alderperson. Once all nominations are made, there will be a motion to close the nominations, and a vote can be cast by paper ballot. Or, if there is only one nomination received, an alderperson can move to close the nominations and cast a unanimous ballot with a second needed on the motion, after which there would be a roll call. Are there any questions? Okay. We'll now open the floor for nominations.
Ritz will nominate Ken Gale for Common Council President.
Guzekowski will second.
Don't need a second on it yet.
Sorry,
Just
my bad.
nominations. Are there any other nominations? Third call, any nominations before I close the hearing, or the nominations? We'll now close the nominations. Seeing as that there is only one, we will call for a motion.
Ritz will move to close the nominations and cast a
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Ritz.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Haas. Lorick.
Aye.
Congratulations, Alderman.
Thank you all.
Okay. All the heavy work's done. Item 5 is consideration of a resolution of appreciation to Stephen G. Kurkowski as First District Alderperson. Catherine, would you please read that into record?
Certainly. Resolution number 12571, resolution of appreciation to Stephen G. Kurkowski as First District Alderperson. Whereas Stephen Kurkowski was elected to the position of First District Alderperson on April 2nd, 2013, and was re-elected to the position in 2015, 2017, 2019, 2021, and 2023. And whereas Steve Kurkowski's sixth aldermanic term will expire on April 15th, 2025, after having served the city of Oak Creek and its constituents for 12 years. And whereas during his 12-year tenure, Steve was a member of the Board of Health, Community Development Authority, License Committee, Personnel and Finance Committee, Small Claims Committee, Tourism Commission, and served as the city's Emergency Government Committee representative. And whereas Steve was committed and engaged in the strategic planning of the city, including the redevelopment of the Lakefront and Lake Vista Park, the Oak View Business Park, Creekside Crossing, Marketplace, and Drexeltown Square. And whereas Steve played a pivotal role in establishing Meijer, IKEA, and Amazon in the city of Oak Creek. And whereas to foster a positive community relations, Steve dedicated himself to responding to numerous calls and emails, meeting with residents to address their concerns, and proactively engaging with city staff to resolve issues during times of his own challenges. And whereas Steve consistently served as a steward of the city, contributing thoughtfully in committee discussions and decisions while serving on the Common Council. And whereas Steve Kurkowski has served the best interests of the city and the residents of the First District, and the city of Oak Creek has benefited from his contributions by city government as an alderperson. Now therefore be it resolved that by the mayor and the Common Council of the city of Oak Creek, for and on behalf of the citizens of the city of Oak Creek, their sincere appreciation be, and the same is hereby extended to Stephen G. Kurkowski for his service to the city. Be it further resolved that this resolution be spread upon the minutes of this meeting, and that the city clerk is hereby directed to transmit a suitable copy thereof to Steve Kurkowski, introduced and adopted this 15th day of April 2025.
Thank you, Catherine. Unfortunately, Steve couldn't be with us. He's fulfilling another civic duty. He is an umpire for high school baseball as well, so I'm sure he's there and couldn't make it in. But would anybody like to say anything before we do a motion? Ken?
Yeah, I know we talked to Steve directly at the last meeting, but just one more time, I think, to reiterate the fact that his 12 years of service is obviously incredibly appreciated by the community and us here on this dais. And he was a dedicated public servant, and we should all strive to provide the service to our constituents as Steve did. So good luck to him, and welcome retirement, I guess. So.
Chris, anything?
Got me. He's good. Thank you.
Jim, anything?
I just enjoyed working with Steve and wish him the best of luck in his retirement.
Okay. Greg, anything?
No, nothing for me.
Alicia, I'll respectfully leave you out of it for now. No, I just, on behalf of the citizens of Oak Creek, the Common Council, myself, and the entire staff, I want to thank Steve for his service. It's not an easy position to come up here and do these jobs, and he did it very well for a very long time, and the city is better off for his efforts. And as Jim said, I will wish him a very long retirement, if you want to call Steve retired in that capacity. So congratulations, Steve. With that said, can we get a motion on 5, please?
I will move to approve Resolution 12571-041525, a resolution of appreciation to Stephen G. Kurkowski as First District Alderperson.
Guzekowski, a second.
Roll call.
Gale?
Aye.
Guzekowski?
Aye.
Haas? Lorick?
Aye.
Ritz?
Aye.
Item 6 is mayoral proclamation for Earth Day, which will be celebrated April 22nd, 2025. Catherine, would you please?
Certainly. Mayoral Proclamation Earth Day, April 22nd, 2025. Prioritizing earth-friendly food. Whereas on April 22nd, 1970, millions of people around the world joined the common cause to protect the planet for future generations and all who share it. And whereas food production is responsible for 1/3 of global emissions, with meat and dairy farming the leading source of agricultural emissions. And whereas even other sectors, including energy, transportation, and buildings, were carbon neutral by 2050, as it is necessary, the current U.S. food system would take us past 1.5 degrees Celsius of warming by 2050. And whereas the Eat Lancet report calls for widespread, multi-sector, multi-level action, including a substantial shift towards healthy, earth-friendly dietary patterns. And whereas the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has recognized dietary shifts towards plant-based foods as a key action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And whereas a Chatham House report determined that a global shift toward plant-based foods could draw down more than 25% of emissions by 2050. And whereas an individual swap from conventional meals to plant-based meals for just one day is equivalent to driving 41 fewer miles, sparing over 400 feet of land, and saving at least 250 gallons of water. And whereas the City of Oak Creek acknowledges meat and dairy represent 13 to 20% of most municipal emissions and drive deforestation, species loss, and habitat loss, and is committed to fight biodiversity loss. And whereas by 2050, 80% of food will be consumed in cities, creating a vital role to build on the past 50 years of progress. And the city is committed to meeting its climate targets across all sectors. And whereas earth-friendly, plant-forward foods present diverse options for a multicultural population, and a global majority of people are lactose intolerant, including a substantial population of Americans. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Daniel J. Bukevich, Mayor of the City of Oak Creek, do hereby endorse efforts to promote and prioritize plant-based and plant-forward earth-friendly foods for Earth Day. Be it also resolved that the city will promote food on Earth Day that is earth-friendly and plant-forward, encouraging restaurants, events, vendors, schools, and other food providers to celebrate Earth Day with plant-based beverages and culturally diverse plant-based foods, including healthy beans, legumes, and other vegetables, dated this 15th day of April 2025.
Thank you, Catherine.
You're welcome.
Anybody from the council got a comment? Anything? So Earth Day was started long ago in the 70s, and this year they definitely have a plant-based food focus on it, but Earth Day encompasses many, many things, from not only planting sustainable food sources for those that are in need, but helping sustain and clean the planet and reduce carbon footprint. That is happening in many ways around the city, from LED lights to cleaner running vehicles, and seeing more and more battery cars going around and the whole deal. But the one way you can take part in your community is April 26th. I think I got that date right. We are having a citywide cleanup, and you can join me right here at City Hall Saturday morning at 9 a.m. till 12 p.m. And we will be going through our parks in Drexeltown Square, Historical Society, and other parts of the city, and beautifying them in many ways, from cleaning up debris to sprucing up some flower beds and things of that nature. So if you can join me, be a welcome addition. Come and meet your neighbors, get some fresh air, possibly some exercise. Hope to see you then. As that is a mayoral proclamation, no action is needed. Okay, from item 5, we will jump to
They're 14, 15, 16.
14, item 14, if everybody check it. These are rather important, and we're on a time crunch here. So item 14. Every year we have to do appointments to various boards and commissions. This will be done on May the 6th. May 6th, 2025. It will be on the council agenda. And the appointments are as follows. The mayor has appointments to small claims and library going forward. So we won't need any action on that. What we will need is a motion on item 15 to concur with the mayoral's appointments to tourism, celebrations, and the community authority when they come up. We don't have those people. We don't need a motion.
I have a whole motion.
On 15? Okay. We need a motion and a second on 15 then.
Oh, 14, 15,
To hold
16.
them?
Yeah.
Oh. Then let's put a hold on 14, 15, 16. But either way, these are the aldermanic appointments. We've all served on various boards, so alderpersons, if you do have preference or restrictions on what you do, you may want to confer with myself or the Common Council President as to those appointments. So we could.
Yeah, we'll move to hold the mayor and common council automatic appointments to various boards and commissions to May 6th.
Guzekowski will second.
Actually, so the whole items on 14, 15, and 16, sorry.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Guzekowski.
Aye.
Hess. Lorick.
Aye.
Ritz.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Okay. We're going to go back to item 6. Sorry about the interruption. Another mayoral I'm sorry, not item 6. Item 7. It is a proclamation for Frontline Workers Appreciation Month. That is happening in May of 2025.
Mayoral Proclamation Frontline Worker Appreciation Month, May 2025. Whereas frontline workers are the builders of our community, exercising curiosity, compassion, courage, and creativity to provide essential services that ensure the safety, health, and education of our residents. And whereas over 9 million healthcare workers across the United States serve in hospitals, clinics, and long-term care facilities, often placing themselves at risk to provide life-saving care. And whereas firefighters respond to an estimated 36 million emergency calls each year, over 800,000 sworn law enforcement officers nationwide work tirelessly to uphold the law and ensure public safety. and emergency medical services personnel respond to more than 240 million calls annually. And whereas teachers dedicate their careers to shaping the futures of our community, with over 3.7 million educators in the U.S. providing knowledge and guidance to our youth. And whereas frontline workers embody the essence of builders, flexible thinkers, and construction problem solvers who respect the dignity of all people by dedicating themselves to overcoming challenges and uniting communities. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Daniel J. Bukavich, Mayor of the City of Oak Creek, do hereby proclaim May 2025 as Frontline Worker Appreciation Month in Oak Creek, and hereby encourage all residents to join in recognizing and honoring the heroic contributions of our healthcare workers, firefighters, law enforcement officers, EMS personnel, and teachers. Dated this 15th day of April 2025.
Thank you, Catherine.
You're welcome.
Council, any words? Okay, no, I just want to recognize that we've been asked to do a proclamation in May, maybe a little bit early, but it's never too early to thank these individuals from healthcare, teaching, protective services. These are the people that you don't notice what they're doing till they don't do it. And it's only right to really not only appreciate them daily, but call them out and give them a month and recognize them for the hard work that they do for all of us here in the community. So hats off to you, and enjoy the month of May. Okay, we will move on to the last proclamation, and that is item 8, and that will be for Arbor Day 2025. Catherine?
Mayoral Proclamation Arbor Day 2025, whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees, and whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas the City of Oak Creek is recognized as a Tree City USA community by the National Arbor Day Foundation and desires to continue its tree planting ways. Now therefore, I, Daniel J. Bukavich, Mayor of the City of Oak Creek, do hereby proclaim April 25th as Arbor Day in the City of Oak Creek, and I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Dated this 15th day of April, 2025.
Thank you, Catherine.
You're welcome.
Once again, Council, any words on Arbor Day? Nothing. So once again, we recognize Arbor Day every year here in the City of Oak Creek, not only since I've been mayor, but since I've been an alderperson. Oak Creek prides itself on the canopy we keep here. Our Department of Public Works and our Forestry Department in particular does a fabulous job on it. And if you've ever taken the time to approach them, talk to them, they will educate you greatly on trees. So every year around the city, usually in a school or a park, we dedicate a tree, and this will be no different going forward. So very appropriate, because Oak Creek has been named a Tree City for years on end, and we continue to keep that tradition alive. And we're proud to take part in this Arbor Day by mayoral proclamation. So thank you to DPW, particularly our Forestry and Parks Department, for all they do. Thank you. Okay, moving on to new business. Item 8 is fire, and it's consideration of a motion to approve the purchase of a command vehicle and to authorize the fire chief to enter into the necessary agreements related to the purchase. We have Chief Kresick with us tonight.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Mike Kresick, Fire Chief. Tonight, asking your approval to purchase a command vehicle and authorize myself as Fire Chief to enter into the necessary agreements related to this purchase. We're replacing Battalion 18. Our command vehicle is estimated to cost $108,829. As you may remember, this purchase was funded with $100,000 as part of the 2025 CIP. The additional funding for this purchase will be coming from two of our older CIPs, including the one from 2025 related to the purchase of our UTV. Battalion 18 serves as the command vehicle and main unit for our battalion chief within the city of Oak Creek. The unit is a Chevrolet Tahoe, model year 2015, with approximately, at this point, 88,000 miles on it. We're replacing it with a similar unit, a 2025 Chevrolet Tahoe, through government pricing. That unit, once we receive it, will be sent out to Reliant Fire Apparatus, where basically the upfitting will take place. Lights, radios, storage compartments, and graphics. We anticipate that once we receive the vehicle from the dealership, we're probably about 4 months away from having it delivered. Be happy to answer any questions related to this request.
Thank you, Chief. Questions for the chief regarding the purchase?
My only question was, time of replacement. It was in here 10 years. 10-year replacement.
It is a 10-year replacement of the battalion. When we watch, the battalion falls kind of in that utility vehicle range, much different than an engine or an ambulance or a truck. When we get to that 10-year mark, what we look at is condition, mileage, make a determination what is next for it. Now, the unit will remain with our department as in reserve capacity, but is reaching the end of its useful life.
No other questions? Motion.
Ritz will move to approve the purchase of a command vehicle and to authorize the fire chief to enter into the necessary agreements related to this purchase.
Lorick seconds.
Roll call.
Alderwoman Haas. Lorik.
Aye.
Ritz.
Aye.
Gale. Oh, pardon me. Guzekowski.
Come on, I'm nice. Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Item 10. Item 10 is consideration of a motion to approve the proposal by CJ Associates to reconfigure the MPR department office space at a cost not to exceed $50,000.
Thank you. I'm here to ask for your support with a motion to allow for reconfiguration with CJ and Associates. So our department created, as you all recall, last year in June of 2024. We expect to be completely staffed by June of 2025. With that, in order to facilitate the work of the city and the work that we're contracted with the Tourism Commission, with our fully staffed department, we're looking at a reconfiguration of the office space where we're at right now. We selected CJ Associates because they have the relevant experience with the city, building out the workspace when the Civic Center was first built, and then also the renovation on the second floor last year. So with that, you'll see that there are documents included that detail the quote and the design, and the proposal totals $49,884.73. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions from Marcia? So, Marcia, just to kind of get a visual of it, I know you sit on the farthest east side of the building. 3 cubes there currently. Cubes go away.
What we're looking at doing is, so the assessor's office is going to be relocated. We're bumping out, putting up a higher wall up to 8 foot, I believe it is. And then we'll have 3 soft offices. Our team is on the phone a lot with sponsors, vendors, a lot of different people. And so they'll have soft offices to be able to provide a little more privacy and quiet for the staff that are upstairs, but the top will also be glass to still allow for some of that natural light to come in. And then we will have 2 workstations, one a hoteling station, which will be for our part-time graphic designer, and then any interns, as well as then we're building out for a small workspace for our new communications coordinator, who is an entry-level employee. Finally, we have 2 stand-up desks, tables that can be bumped together for collaboration, or they're able to be moved around so they can move around to look out the window. Those are also for additional, we're expecting to have 3, possibly 4 interns this summer, so they may cross path and we may have quite a few people up there. So we'll be able to have some additional space for them to work when we have more than 5 people in the office.
Thank you. Thank you for the explanation. Anybody else? I do have a request for a speaker. Mr. Pete Gruber. Pete, is this related to the item, or is this something, because this really isn't, I read your comment, this really isn't quite, sorry, sir, you can't speak from the audience, but I understand that, but this isn't really the venue, because we have to stick to the agenda item. If you have something about the reconfiguration, be glad to let you speak. If not, I can pass this on, and we can arrange a meeting. Okay, thank you, sir. There any other discussions? Okay, seeing none, motion.
Lork moves to approve the proposal by CJ Associates to reconfigure the MPR department office space at a cost not to exceed $50,000.
Ritzel, second.
Roll call?
Alderwoman Haas, Lorik.
Aye.
Ritz,
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
And item 11 is Public Works and Utility. It's consideration of a motion to award the Public Works and Utility Facility and Space Needs Assessment Study to Cooney Architects in the amount of $22,480. Matt?
Thank you, Mayor and Common Council. Yes, we had put out a request for proposals for firms, primarily architectural design engineering firms, to assist the city in looking at a couple of our facilities, one being the Public Works Municipal Building Facilities Campus, as well as located on Putes Road, as well as the Water and Sewer Utility facility that's located on Drexel Avenue. This has kind of been a long-time strategic action plan goal to look at the possibility of doing integrating the DPW and utility field operations together. So this is that first step in exploring that as an option. So this we had received one proposal from CUNY Architects to essentially look at our existing space of each of the facilities and then take a look at what our future needs would be in looking at combining those two operations into one location. So unfortunately, we only received the one proposal. We did reach out to some of the other, we had about 9 plan holders that pulled the documents to look at it, to potentially bid on it. And it seemed it was kind of just a timing thing where they had other projects going on and just weren't able to submit in a timely fashion. Another, it seems like, works with CUNY Architects, and so they respectfully weren't going to go forward with a proposal on this. Looking into the company further, we're definitely impressed with their expertise. They've done a lot of different studies, as well as ultimately the final design for build-outs. So they do have a high success rate of these studies moving forward with architectural design and ultimate project completion. Notably, West Allis would be one of their most recent projects that they worked on from the beginning, and now is being constructed as we speak. A couple others, Kenosha County's facility for their highway department, City of Weston, and several others. They've done, I believe they said, somewhere in the range of 36 of these actual public works facilities type projects in the last 34 years or so. So good experience there. So definitely believe that they have the capacity to fill this. The fee that they propose is certainly in line. In fact, it's probably a little bit lower than we might have expected it to come in at, but looking at some of the others that have done these projects, it's really right in line with the scope that we're asking for.
Matt? Questions for Matt?
No.
Okay, if there's no further discussions or questions, motion on 11.
Ritzel move to award the Public Works and Utility Facilities and Space Needs Assessment Study to Cooney Architects in the amount of $22,480.
Lork seconds.
Roll call.
Alderman Lorik.
Aye.
Ritz,
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Haas.
Item 12 is consideration of a resolution of a preliminary resolution declaring intent to exercise special assessment powers under Section 3.200 of the Municipal Code of the City of Oak Creek for the installation of an 8-inch water main in the right-of-way between 2025 and 2636 East Sharon Drive, to establish a public hearing date of May the 6th, project number 25117. With us is Brian Johnston.
Good evening. Brian Johnson, utility engineer. I'm here to talk about intent to special assess for a water project. Currently, the road does not exist in this section of the city. We had a subdivision that was planned back in 2007 to fill in this area, build the road through here. Sanitary sewer already extends through this vacant area. The economic downturn 2008 kind of upended that subdivision, and it's been sitting there since then. One of our concerns we have with this project is the water quality. There's 7 homes that are on a dead end line that we don't have a hydrant on the end of that line to flush out the main if anything would get in there. So we're looking at extending the main, connecting up both ends of this project, and then special assessing the 2 vacant parcels that are owned by Milwaukee County on either side of the road. If a subdivision is ever built, road constructed, this would benefit those parcels as having that facility already in the ground for those properties. Questions?
Excellent questions. Comments? Nothing? See any residents in here? So, residential notices will go out for the public hearing, obviously.
Yeah, and the only 2 parcels affected are Milwaukee County properties.
Oh. Sorry. Thank you. Okay, if there's no further questions, motion.
Lork moves to adopt resolution number 12572-041525, a preliminary resolution declaring intent to exercise special assessment powers under section 3.200 of the Municipal Code of the City of Oak Creek for the installation of an 8-inch water main in the right-of-way between 2520 and 2636 East Sharon Drive, and set a public hearing date.
Roll call.
Alderman Ritz,
Aye.
Guzekowski,
Aye.
Haas, Lorick.
Aye.
Item 13 is consideration of a resolution of a development agreement by and between the City of Oak Creek and 7655 South 6th Street, LLC, AWI LLC, regarding a tree preservation requirements on the property at 7655 South 6th Street. Christie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the Common Council. Christy Lane, Community Development Director. This is a unique situation where there is a property owner on 6th Street that would like to develop the northern, currently vacant portion of their property. They have submitted a certified survey map in the past that was approved by the Common Council to carve off that land. And they also have submitted site landscaping architectural plans for the proposal of a approximate 71,000 square foot light industrial warehousing type of building that could be constructed on that vacant portion. This is a heavily wooded site, the northern section that they would carve off. And the City of Oak Creek in the zoning code has a tree preservation section that was recently adopted in 2022 that does require a tree study to be submitted to staff and to the city to analyze the current condition of trees. Trees in diameter of 12-inch or larger are required to be replaced and installed in a ratio of 1:3 or possibly 1:4, depending on that diameter, on site is the catch in the particular tree preservation section of the code. That's not achievable on this particular land because it's 100% wooded, and in order to construct a parking lot and a building, you have to cut the trees down, and there's just not space to install new trees to meet the tree preservation requirement. So with that being said, this was vaguely mentioned in previous meetings that this was going to be forthcoming, that the applicant, the property owner, would submit some sort of offer to the Common Council to consider in the form of a development agreement. And what they are submitting is to provide a monetary payment to the city in lieu of the trees. And the monetary amount is in $25,999. What that does is that covers a 1-to-1 ratio of tree replacement that they would assume the city would, do the installation of the trees elsewhere, wherever the city may choose. They can't be replaced on site. So that 1-for-1 ratio offer would pay for 1 3/4 inch to 2 inch diameter trees. And I did speak to Spencer, the city forester. That is a typical size of a tree that he would purchase to be installed anywhere in the city. And the cost would, again, not cover that 1-to-3 or 1-to-4 ratio that the code does require. It would be a 1-for-1 ratio, and it would cover 164 trees. They are removing 174 trees. They can install 10 on site. There's enough room. But the code at a 1-to-3, 1-to-4 ratio requires installation of 574 trees. They're offering the 1-to-1 ratio of 164 trees. Again, this is a very unique situation. This is not something that has come before, a similar situation that's come before the Common Council to consider. In consultation with the city attorney, it's in the form of a development agreement. The development agreement is drafted in the form of the matter of the offer from the developer. And the Common Council most certainly has the discretion to approve, to modify, or deny the request as is written in the development agreement. I do want to make mention that we did work, Max and I worked together with our Department of Public Works. If the city were to install these 164 trees, we did estimate that the staff labor and equipment costs to install that amount of trees would range from approximately $67,000 to $74,000. So again, that just covers labor and equipment on top of the actual purchase of the trees, their offer of $25,999. If the Common Council were to accept in any shape or form, whether it's a modified amount or the offer as it's written, staff does intend that since a precedent would be pretty much established this evening or at a future date, that we do need to reconsider maybe some modifications to the tree preservation section of our ordinance. It's not achievable at probably most sites that are remaining for heavy development like this, and also provide some sort of exit strategy if a developer can't meet the code. What would be an alternative that precedents could be set this evening. I do know that a representative of the owner is here this evening, but that concludes my summary of their offer and the development agreement.
Thank you, Christy. I'll open it up for questions or comments. Greg?
For clarification, is the offer to buy the city 164 trees and to pay $25,999?
It is not. The offer is to pay $25,999, which would cover the purchase of 164 trees.
Okay.
It does not include labor or equipment costs.
I know we talked about this at planning, this particular lot, and I think ideas were just kind of thrown around at planning, because obviously they can't plant that many trees on that property.
Correct.
Does staff have a preference on if that amount is accepted? Is the plan to buy the trees? Because that's a lot of extra money to then install the trees. Is there any thought to possibly use some of the funds or all the funds to buy some type of tree-themed artwork? I know that part of the city strategic plan is to expand public art and things like that. Would that be a possibility versus adding 2 to 3 times the amount to then plant all the trees?
Sure. I mean, the policy decision makers is the Common Council. I don't know if I'm comfortable suggesting
Okay.
where the money should go or what it should be used for, but
Okay.
just that their offer is to pay the city $25,999.
Is the,
I mean, I'm fine with that amount. I think it's a fair amount based on their, I guess their estimate of purchasing the trees. And I would be all for pursuing ways to add some type of artwork if that's possible. It's probably less maintenance than actual trees. And I think it would meet one of our strategic goals, but that's just me. So, thanks.
Thank you, Greg. Jim?
you know, how is the current land assessed right now? Is it agricultural or?
It's M1.
Yeah, it's M1
But no,
manufacturing.
that's how it's zoned, but how is it on the tax rolls?
Well, it's one parcel right now, so it would be assessed, it's Redwall Printing, it's one giant parcel right now that includes the forested area. So it's assessed as one parcel.
But there's nothing on it right now.
There's nothing on that northern half, correct? It's just all trees.
So, well, I guess what I'm driving at is, if we approve this, we're going to eventually bring on some decent property taxes.
Yeah, there would be brand new construction, 71,000 square foot building, correct?
Right, so that's going to be a lot better than whatever the assessed value is right now. Right?
Thank you, Jim.
One more question.
Oh, yes,
What is the city's green space requirements on projects period?
30%. 30%, yep. So if they were to carve, if it moves forward with carving it in two sections, the northern half where the new development would take place, they would meet the 30% requirements. I mean, they're keeping as many trees as they could. The southern half, how we approach that with the Plan Commission is they're not at the 30, if they were to carve it in half, treat it as an existing site, I do believe that it only would have met 18% green space, but the Plan Commission kind of treated it as it's an existing site that has not, if it had been carved in half today, it just wouldn't have been required to meet current green space standards as it's an existing site.
And then not only it's existing, it's going to be the same owner. It's just two separate lots. And
Yes,
overall,
correct.
they meet the 30% if you
Yes, you're
look
right,
at both
overall.
lots as one company.
Once
Correct.
the CSM.
And I agree with Alderman Lorik that might be a better way to make use of the funds that we get. 174 trees that we get a double the expense on.
Trying to know you're kind of new. Any opinion? Not yet. Okay. Chris?
Our questions have been answered.
Okay. I'll just go back. Greg alluded to it. We talked about this at planning, and a little bit ago, we adopted this tree preservation ordinance. Really, we had some violators in the city that were just clear cutting massive lots of trees down, and we didn't want that. We just did an Arbor Day proclamation, and we cherish our canopy. So, when we do these ordinances, sometimes we paint with a pretty broad brush, and you can't account for every situation that comes forward. So as Christy said, as we reevaluate this ordinance, and I'm in favor of what you guys talked of too, is that when we do run across situations like this, we do our best to meet the 30% and everything we can on the site. But as Creek has some areas where it's just not feasible. And when you talk to our forestry department, we have wetlands and some caps and parks, and you just can't put them somewhere. And then on top of it, Christy talked about the expense of putting the trees in. Talk about the expense of taking care of the trees over a lifetime. And then I can get into leaf collection and everything else. But long story short, as this ordinance comes up, I think it should be considered public beautification. That can include anything from trees to art, as suggested, to playgrounds, things like that, where it goes, and we establish a fund. And then when things are needed, businesses basically supplied that money if the trees aren't needed. If the forestry budget needs it one year, for sure it's theirs. So just my 2 cents. Andrew?
Sorry to step on you, Mayor. I agree. We've had those conversations about a public art project or some other mitigation, meeting another strategic goal. I will say, we have excellent relationship with Redwall. We really want to see this expansion project. We would not recommend a one-to-one mitigation in the forthcoming ordinance that's coming forward. Maybe here that's satisfactory, but our kind of analysis as we look at this ordinance would be maybe a 1-to-4 was a little much, but just to get the value back for those trees and maybe folding it into a meaningful mitigation fund for another public art project or whatever we construct with this ordinance probably won't reflect this agreement if this is what you approve tonight. And we're okay with that as a staff. We can change our policy and our ordinance moving forward that's better suited. And again, that's probably not going to meet every situation perfectly, handsomely as well. But this is kind of a really unique circumstance here. And we've been, was that 2020 when we did this? So
Yeah, it's been a while.
and we've had a couple, you probably predated you, we've had a couple where this really ordinance didn't make a lot of sense to what was on the ground. So
And to Redwall's credit, it wasn't mentioned, but they're going to beautify this building where they can't get trees, but they're going with pollinating gardens, rain gardens, and things of that nature. And just by the renderings, it actually was a really nice looking rendering of the building. One of the better ones I've seen in quite a while.
So, before we make a motion, we can leave it as is, and decide on the use of the 25,900. It doesn't,
Well-
there's nothing in the motion that specifies.
You're correct, but they did give you the example because if Matt's department decided it so needed that whatever it comes out to in trees for 1 and 3/4 diameter, great. If not, it can go to anything within forestry they may need. It's kind of a one-off. I wouldn't say this is really setting a precedence because it's one of those things we have to look at. As time moves forward, we just sometimes find things don't work or fit.
So I think the answer is leave it as is.
Just weigh in.
Yeah,
Thank
please.
you, Alderman Ritz. I mean, in looking at this development agreement, just so it's clear and consistent to all of the council, to reflect what you're looking for, I guess I would just say to look at page 3, number 3. I mean, if you're looking for something a little bit different, given the uniqueness of the situation, I think that our Director of Community Development set it forth. We've heard from the Alder people who sit on Plan Commission as well, and the mayor. There's been a lot of discussion about this project and trying to strike that balance. So piggybacking off what you're saying, looking at number 3, the language as a placeholder right now indicates that these 164 1 3/4 to 2 inch diameter street trees would be installed at various locations around the city. I don't want to put words into your mouth, but I think what you're perhaps referring to is for the installation of said trees or comparable artwork or beautification efforts to be installed by city at locations that are consistent with the preservation and replacement of trees and woodlands in the city. Is that what you're thinking, something along that nature? And certainly feel free to insert other language. Because I think that's a necessary change to this development agreement as is.
So then we'd have to, in the motion, reference number 3, as to state that it be to purchase trees or similar.
Beautification or
Beautification.
preservation efforts of trees and woodlands?
I have another question to him. Now, on number 3, I guess that's where my confusion came in. On number 3, it says 29,520 with said sum payable
Oh, that's
from by a developer to city, but the reports a proposal of 25.9. What is the difference in price there?
Yeah, I know why there's the confusion. Their offer letter, Exhibit A, says that 164 trees would cost 29,520. But the next bullet point, they state a check that they would actually pay the city. They kind of round it up. For whatever reason, the check that they would actually pay the city $25,999. Whatever reason they chose to round up, and their true offer is $25,999.
So I guess I already said that I was okay with that amount. I'm just curious, does that need to be updated then in this draft copy of the development agreement, or is this saying we're approving them to pay the full amount?
Clarify the amount and make sure that it's reflected in the development agreement. So, to be clear, is it 29,520 or is it 25,999? Gesture, but perhaps the representative can speak to it, so we're all going down the same path
Sir,
together.
need your name and address.
My name is Brian Fisher. My address is W147 N10764 Heritage Parkway, Germantown, Wisconsin. Yeah, we are planting 10 mature trees, 3 caliper, 2.5, 3 caliper on the site. There's 10 of those at a fairly significant price. So that's why the offer was a little bit less than what we had on the bid from Trees on the Move.
Oh, so that's what the difference is for the 10 trees that you
Yes,
So your intent is the 25,
$9.99. Yeah, yeah, the 25. $9.99 is the offer. That's for the 164 trees.
And that's
Of the-
basically the full cost, the 29,000 minus the 10 trees you're buying.
Right.
Okay.
And if I wasn't clear on that in my offer letter, I apologize.
thank you.
Yeah.
Where's the 20?
Yes. Go ahead, Andrew.
Director Trepetoski, did we purchase our trees yet for this annual cycle? I believe we have $20,000 annually in our CIP for trees.
Yeah, that's correct. We were, placing the order actually, like, this week. But yes, we
Like
do.
the
it
first
is a
2
pro-
days of the week or later on this week?
I believe yesterday.
I was thinking maybe we could shuffle money around and we could actually execute the project as you're describing down there with a little bit of time to actually rationally plan something that makes sense. And then we could take the check and not have to buy the trees right away. So that's all.
Or we could just do the motion as it is.
Shuffle it around kind of.
Shuffle
Yep.
around or come back to us and ask to shuffle around.
We know that the ordinance has to be followed up and rectified. So again, I wouldn't be worried about whatever it is we're doing here causing an issue moving forward with a different project, different circumstances. So really, however you want to handle this, I think we're trying to just keep our heads down and get through this situation, knowing we'll bring back a policy decision for you on how this will be handled moving forward.
I think the simplest thing is to read it as is. Adjusting the number, correct. Now,
Number's not in the motion. Do we have to make it part of the motion, or?
I would make the motion with the edit to the development agreement that section A3 would include the species priced at $25,999. I think that's consistent.
Alicia, you want us to take this one? Do it,
Just the dollar amount, we don't have to add the beautification or anything.
It's up to the council.
I know that was talked about. Just changing the wording so it doesn't, I mean, because this says it's for the installation of trees.
And I
We
think
want it to be for the installation of trees or other beautification.
That's up to the council. I think I wouldn't
That's
paraphrase
fine.
whatever. Yeah.
Okay. So Lorick moves to adopt resolution number 12573-041525, a resolution approving a development agreement by and between the City of Oak Creek and 7655 South Sixth Street LLC regarding tree preservation requirements at 7655 South Sixth Street, with an amendment to section A3 to read various species priced at $25,999, with said sum payable by developer to city for the installation of said trees or to be used for other beautification projects by the city at locations that are consistent with the preservation and replacement of trees and woodlands in the city.
Fritz will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Guzekowski.
Aye.
Haas. Lorick.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
That was 13. We have done 14, 15, 16, which is held. We'll get us to item 17. That is the License Committee. I will turn that over to Alderman Ritz.
You've been given a copy of the licensing committee report. If you'd look it over and see if there's anything you have a question on. If not, when you're ready, motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. If there's no questions, can I get a second?
Guzekowski will second.
No, we didn't have a motion.
I thought you motioned, Jim.
No, I said, well, we'll make one right now. Fritz will motion to approve the various license requests as listed on the 415 License Committee report.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderwoman Haas. Lorick.
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
And item 18 is our vendor summary report for April 9th, 2025, in the amount of $712,725.59. Please take a look at your report, and if there's any questions, please just take the floor and ask the appropriate person you think can answer.
Approve.
Lorick seconds.
Roll call.
Alderman Lorick.
Aye.
Ritz.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Haas.
Okay. That will bring us to adjournment. So before we adjourn, for many, it is a holiday weekend. So if you are so celebrating, please have a safe, joyous holiday. And spring is here. So as we talked a lot about beautification in the city, and hopefully some folks will join us here on that Saturday to help beautify our city. There's no further business. Motion to adjourn.
Lorick moves to adjourn.
Fritz second.
Roll call.
Alderman Ritz.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Haas. Lorick.
Aye.
Good night, everybody. Have a great week. Thank you.